And welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. All throughout the month of November, we're aiming to bring you a brand new review each and every day. That might be a written review over on thegaminggang.com, or it might be a video review from yours truly. And obviously enough, that's the case today because I will be sharing my thoughts on Lands of RuneQuest Dragon Pass from Chaosium Inc. This is written by Jeff Richard, Greg Stafford, and Jason Durrell. This 190-page hardcover with PDF is available now, carries an MSRP of $44.99. Or if you want to just grab the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $22.99. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Lands of RuneQuest Dragon Pass. Couple of things to mention before we get stuck in. First of all, my friends over at Chaosium Inc. were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. These days, it's important you know that. Or else not going to look at each and every page of the book, but I do want to give you a really good feel for what you're going to find inside. First thing we're going to do is take a peek at the credits page because there are lots of folks who work very hard to bring this to life. So we will give credit where credit is due. For the most part, this volume is mainly a gazetteer of Dragon Pass as well as regions surrounding Dragon Pass. So we're going to get into a lot of detail about the kingdom of Sartar. We'll get into the grasslands, the wilds. But for the most part, this is, at least in my opinion, Game Master facing. Now, we do have some player facing information. We've got some new backgrounds, new occupations. We've got new options as far as character creation based on your homeland. But the vast majority of the content in here really is of use to a game master. Some of this is actually what I would consider to be game master's eyes only. So keep that in mind. I know some folks out there have been talking about that this is a book for players and game masters. I would say I have to disagree. So what we're going to see is various different information about this region. So we get some cool stuff, including trade routes, and we had a history of Dragon Pass. Then we'll actually start getting into details about these various different regions, starting off with the kingdom of Sartar. And I gotta say, these regions are just packed with goodness. We're going to get important movers and shakers or people that everyone knows in that region. We're going to find important places, places of interest, cities and villages and ruins and temples and so forth. And as you can see, the great majority of page space is actually going to be devoted to the kingdom of Sartar. And we're going to get information about how non-humans are treated in Sartar. So all in all, even though some of this material has appeared previously in the guide to Glorantha, the great majority of this is all brand new. I also have to say, I like the sandbox approach of the material that's included in this book. So if you're a game master and you're sort of looking to take a sandbox approach to RuneQuest, which for the most part, when we see published adventures, they are pretty linear. Some are very, very linear. Not that that's a problem. I'm just saying they tend to be pretty linear. This is going to give game masters out there, even if they're using published adventures, a lot of extra material for the players to be able to go off the beaten path and kind of explore on their own. And it's cool because the published adventures, for the most part, are taking place in this area. So they slot in very nicely. So we're also going to get information about some new cults. We get plenty of new stat blocks for different creatures and monsters, generic NPCs like bandits. We also get the stat blocks for famous NPCs, which I thought was pretty cool, and a bestiary that is mainly focused on the wilds. And it's kind of funny because we do get introduced to new creatures and monsters before we get to the bestiary. Those stat blocks are contained right here in the text. And then suddenly we get to the wilds and we wrap up the wilds with the bestiary, where we have these various different entries, like so, on their own. The Hydra Dragon Pass. This is pretty cool. This is a pretty massive chaos monster. Pretty interesting if that, I was going to say rears its head, but I would say rears its heads in an adventure for your players. All in all, love the content of this book. Production quality, artwork throughout, really well done. As we see with RuneQuest releases, the artwork is all pretty uniform as well. Nothing stands out as a major clunker or anything like that. And while the paper stock isn't the thickest that we see from RPG publishers, it's still solid. So this book will hold up to repeated use at your game table. And then we will also have a dual-sided map. So we get our road systems here. And then we get the Dragon Pass map, which also has a legend down below. So very nice, very cool poster map for you. And that is a peek inside Lands of RuneQuest Dragon Pass from Chaosium Inc. Swing on over to the other camera. I'm going to share some final thoughts and give this a review score. So it's important to keep in mind there is some content that's in this book that was originally published in the Guide to Glorantha. It's not a ton, but there are a few items that I did recognize from that book. But the vast majority of this is all brand new content, and that's very important for you to know. As I also mentioned, I don't see this being very useful for players. This is kind of a game master only book. Like I said, I've heard some people say, oh, well, it's for players and game masters. I don't really see that. I don't really see that the players would get all that much use out of it in the first place. And there's also material in here that I would consider to be for GMIs only. But then again, maybe that's just me. All in all, I think this is an excellent addition to the RuneQuest series. And I know most people are going to pick this up and they're going to be clamoring for more, because there are other regions that are slated to receive Lands of RuneQuest books in the future. So I am looking forward to that. But I got to say, it's pretty cool. We get Dragon Pass. Most of the published adventures for this edition of RuneQuest are taking place in these regions anyway. So this book will really help flesh those adventures out if a game master happens to be using those published adventures in the first place. All in all, really like this book. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give Lands of RuneQuest Dragon Pass a 9 out of 10. If you are a game master who's serious about running RuneQuest, it really should be in your collection. All right, that's it for this time out. If you liked the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And I should say, we're on a quest, I say, to reach 15,000 subscribers by the time the calendar turns to 2025. Yes, I know, we're a few hundred away, but who knows? We might make it. I'm trying. Regardless, if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.